Hello, Brian. It's good to see you again in the new year. I believe our first recording.
It is. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And you're looking well, sir. You're looking well.
That's an inside joke, but okay.
Just to explain, he did have to actually miss a few days
Yeah,
because he had a slight.
I had a black eye.
He had a
I
black eye. Now, look,
had
you
a
can
black
see
eye.
it right there. And folks, I've not edited this particular video to
No,
remove any blemish. So
no.
let's get straight to where we're going to. Where are we going to? What are we going to talk about today, then, Brian?
We're going to be talking about SSL certificates.
Okay, now that sounds quite interesting. Is it something that we can do inside WordPress?
Do it inside WordPress. You can do it inside of cPanel as well.
Which makes it very interesting. Why? Because, yeah, you might be able to do it for free through something like a Rapid SSL or something like that. But Brian and I are looking specifically in this series at cPanel. And cPanel is something that we do have an interest in. So bear with me as we the cPanel. This is a cPanel, folks. I'm going to show you um, the site that we're going to be looking at, and we're going to look at this particular site here. I chose, by the way, this background, Brian, because it's a place of learning, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to learn how we can actually deal with issues like this. And
Yes.
I'm just going to explain briefly from my side. I see this on a browser, and before I get to it and I put that address in, it's not locked. There's that moment of pure panic because I think the site might be too dangerous to me look at. All the warnings come up, we're scared, and we're thinking, no, no, oh my goodness, I'm going to kill my computer. Am I, Brian?
Uh, it's a possibility. I don't know how probable it is, but it is a concern. And if you don't know the site that well, I wouldn't go there.
No, indeed. Are there any sites that we can think of that will actually not let us use, sorry, not sites, plugins that we not let us use their systems if we have not got a secure site? In other words, what are the main reasons why we need to do something today?
Well, modern browsers block sites that are insecure and don't have SSL certificates. And mainly it's because they're so easy to install these days, but it's an added layer of security. And if you want to do any kind of e-commerce where you're taking money or some critical data from your users, they want to make sure that it's secure and that it's not going to get out, floating around the ethos of the internet and fall into the wrong hands.
Indeed. Now there is an additional factor within this. I think we should explain that there are plugins on WordPress that will do what we're about to do, but we are taking you into cPanel. So if you're very concerned about going into cPanel, there are options to do it through WordPress. But today we're going to show you how you can make that site secure prior to installing WordPress, if that's an issue.
And it could be, but I think that cPanel makes it relatively easy. If you're more comfortable in WordPress, then yeah, you could do it in WordPress. There's no problem there.
Okay, so folks, if it's the first time you've seen one of these films, this is cPanel, control panel that you may well find that your system allows you access to. I'm going to scroll down and shortly Brian will start talking a little bit more about security.
So security is important. Also, the other aspect of it is that Google has blacklisted sites for infractions, SSL certificates, and other things, poor SEO practices, things like that. But this is a factor in avoiding that. Now, it does take some time for them to catch up with you. So you do have some time from launch of a new site until you install this, but you're going to see that it's relatively easy to install, even if you're not used to installing it. It's much easier to install a SSL certificate these days than it was 10 years ago, even.
Now, there's two things that I haven't thought of until just a second ago. One is we can see the status of various sites here, but we can also, I shall open this up and then hand over to Brian.
Okay, so this is the standard view of the SSL certificates in cPanel. It's offering different, encryption bits and things like that. We're going to use a default key type, which is the RSA 2048, and we're going to go over to manage SSL sites.
Okay. Just a question, Brian. What does RSA stand for? This, in other words, this is something that you might not come across in our everyday use of WordPress and other routine sites. You'd have to actually Google it to have a clear understanding if that's something that comes up. Let's move forward then.
Okay.
Are you ready to take us to the next? Yes, you have got control.
Yes, I do.
We
Okay.
believe we are unique, folks, just as he's looking at the setup here, in having an international shared explanation tutorial on our videos. So Brian is actually in the USA and I'm in the UK as we do this.
So what we're doing here is, if you look at the address of the blog, you will see that it's a subdomain because training is in front of the main domain name. So what we're doing is you can secure a top level domain, or you can secure a subdomain. It doesn't really matter. It's a similar, same process actually. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to down here to the training subdomain. And then prior to this being implemented much easier, you would have to download your own certificates and basically cut and paste them in here. You'd have to save them, open them up in a text editor, and inject them in here with a cut and paste. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down here. You can also autofill by domain, but we're going to show you maybe a more manual approach. Just here, you can approach it unafraid. Browse certificates.
I think that's possibly the way, right down to the bottom of the screen, where we find it. Taking on board, folks, this is a subdomain certification, and we've got at least two options there that we can actually install, both the green one and the grey one, that we would click on the pointer there to actually bring both of these certifications in. And there we go. We have our certifications. The coding we can see is something that you would not wish to type out yourself, because there's a lot of it there, but we know we can install all three of these certificates very quickly.
We just go to the install certificate button.
And there we have
And this, I'm sorry. Basically, we get a message that pops up, and it just basically says that it was successfully installed, and it explains where it was installed to, and you okay out of it. And we should be able to hit the back button.
Wow! So here we have the result of that work. And we have a lock key, Brian.
Yes, we do. We have a lock key, and it shows that the SSL is in place after the install, and the site is secure. There's no more triangle with the exclamation point in there. Sometimes different browsers use different icons to indicate the danger. But this site is now secure, and people can access it without fear.
And that means that they won't have any warnings messages coming up. And this also means any content that was put onto this site and keywords, etc., would actually rank higher because we know that the site is secure. And potentially that will mean that WooCommerce will allow us to use the site as well.
Correct.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So, folks, we've gone from an insecure site, we've added SSL, you've seen how it can be done through cPanel, and how the end result is that we've jointly shared internationally, actually, the upgrading of this site.
We have, and now everybody can visit it.
Indeed. But folks, this was a sample test site, as you can see. It's not an active one. You won't find anything exciting about it, but it is there for a purpose, and that purpose has been shared today with you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us in that respect. Bear with me. I will, of course, I just remembered it's you sharing it, not me. I'll do another final bit of thank you very much indeed. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Brian?
No, I think we've covered it. And again, we're posting these to the Web Squadron to help you with back-end server things. And if you don't see something in the videos that we're running, please let us know, and we'll try to cover those with some expediency, so that you're not scared of the back end of the server interface. This is a much nicer server interface than back in the day, so it's much more manageable and much less scary.
Well done, Brian. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing so much of your knowledge here, because it is really useful to look at it. And it's great to see you again.
Good
Thanks
to see
for
you
your
again.
time.
Thank you.